Hello, today we are looking at the Java API documentation. So, the first thing you're going to want to do is open up a web browser. I use Firefox personally. So let's look into the math class, just as an example. So I'm going to type Java Oracle Docs, and then let's look at the math class. So here's the first thing that comes up, docs.oracle.com. The Docs API Java, the Java Platform SE8. This is what we want. So we're going to click this. It typically should be the first thing that pops up. So the math class contains methods for performing basic numeric operations such as the elementary, exponential, logarithmic, square root, and trigonometric functions. All of that fun stuff. Now let's actually get into it. So here we have the field summary. So the field summary is just a list of fields that are available in the method. So I've gone over one of these, the math.py. So again, this is a static value, so we would just call math.py. And then here we have E, or Euler's number, and this is also static, so we would say math.e, and just refer to the class itself rather than creating a math object. And now let's go down to the methods. So as you can see, all of these are static methods. Every single one is static because there's no sense in creating a math object. It just doesn't make sense. So we have ABS. Well, what does that mean? Returns the absolute value of a double value. Okay, so it's absolute value. We can pass in a double. There's ABS for float, for int, long. So we can find the absolute value of any of these data types. And on the left side, you can see that there's the modifier and type. So the static keyword is our modifier. It may not be there. If it's not a static method, then this word won't be here. And then here where it says double, float, int, this is the return type. So recalling back to methods, this is the data that gets returned when you call a method. So for example, if we want to take the absolute value of a double called A, this name doesn't really mean too much to us at least. If we pass in a double, then it's going to return a double, specifically the absolute value of whatever we sent it. So we also have the arc cosine, add exact, which returns the sum of its arguments, throwing an exception if the result overflows an int. So this is sort of a specific addition because we have something called overflowing with the way that data is stored. And that's a topic for another video. Then we have arcsine, arctangent, and then this returns the angle theta from the conversion of rectangular coordinates xy to polar coordinates, so that's getting into sort of calculus at that point. So as you can see, there's a lot of methods that we can call in this math class, and there's a detailed list of everything that they do, how to call them, what we need to pass in, what they return, whether or not they're static. A lot of very helpful information here. So the method summary, the field summary, those are going to be your best friends. So there's another summary here, but it's actually not visible for this class because you can't create a math object. It doesn't make sense. So let's look into a different class. Let's look up the Java Oracle Docs for the scanner. And again, it's just going to be this first result right here. So we have the class scanner. And there's some information right here that may seem foreign. Hopefully it'll make more sense once I start putting out more complex topics in my videos. So if we scroll down, this sort of gives some information on how to use the scanner. Makes it easier to remember how to use everything so you don't have to memorize it all. It's all just listed here. But let's look at this, the constructor summary. So these are the different constructors that we can call in the scanner class. So remember, the constructor is just a special method that we use to instantiate new objects from a class. So this is when we say something along the lines of, I'm going to just throw it in here and comment all this out. So if we say scanner input equals new scanner, and remember we said system.in, and make sure to import that and everything. So this is how we created a scanner in the past, and let's look back in here. So scanner, file source, so constructs a new scanner that produces value scanned from the specified file. So it seems like we can read information from a file. Input stream, constructs a new scanner that produces value scanned from the specified input stream. So that just so happens to be exactly what we're doing. So the system.in is an input stream. You can see it right here. So that's the constructor that we're calling, and we know it's a constructor because we're using the new keyword. But that's not the only way we can construct a scanner. There's a lot more ways we can do it. So that's another thing about classes and objects. You can have more than one constructor, and that goes into something called method overloading and overriding, which I will get into soon. Don't worry. Then we have all of the methods here, and we have something called an instance method. Last time it said static method. These are all the methods where it's sort of the opposite of static. Instead of calling it on the class, you call it on the object, which would be this, our input that we just created, the new scanner object. So these are all the different methods that you can call. You would say input.hasNextBoolean, input.next, which we've seen before, input.nextInt, all of this fun stuff. We can call that directly on the scanner object. And that's sort of a shallow dive into the Oracle docs. Hopefully this was helpful. If you're still a little confused, feel free to leave a comment, and I will try to get to those as soon as I can. In the next video, I will probably talk about class inheritance and maybe some polymorphism. That's another very big topic. So make sure you stay tuned for that one.